All right, everyone. It appears that Kamala Harris is back on the sauce again, as though she ever got off of it. Link in the description, not archived, of course, just a video clip from End Wokeness. This is Kamala Harris addressing some of her remaining fans, and she starts rambling about how Trump has no mandate. That's not a mandate, not a mandate. And she's like going off and doing the strong, empowered woman thing. This reminds me of Hillary Clinton after her loss in the 2016 election. You remember, she went on her months-long apology tour blaming everybody but herself for her loss and proceeded to completely obfuscate basic reality. And most of what she said either didn't make sense or wasn't true. And so she was like blaming feminist voters and the DNC and everybody else but herself. At least Kamala, I hate to give her credit where credit is due. She does have one legit grievance, and that's that the party was not working with her campaign very well, partially because of last-minute organization, and partially because a lot of people just really didn't want her in office. And you can tell, the Bidens were happy when she lost. And I don't blame them, honestly. Kamala would have been a... Can you imagine Kamala Harris trying to govern the country under the current circumstances? Well, you certainly wouldn't have enhanced border control, that's for sure. The legacy media would namby-pamby her for a short time before realizing that she's so toxic even they can't defend her. At least with Joe, they could say, well, he's old. He's not infirm. He's totally mentally with it. I mean, he trips all the time and staggers around not knowing where he is, but they could shield him for the most part until his disastrous debate performance. I don't think they'd be as successful with Kamala Harris because she wouldn't have old age to hide behind because she's like, what, 60 or something like that. So she can't hide behind elderly status for that sort of thing. She clearly is inebriated here, and try to convince me that she's not loaded. You will fail at convincing me that that is the case. In fact, it's not actually the case. Let's put it that way. She's like, this was the closest election of the 21st century. Yeah, no mandate, no mandate. But you're wrong. You're objectively wrong. You lost the popular vote. You lost every swing state by significant margins, far worse than you lost that the Dems lost in 2016, although the map looked the same basically. You had a huge swing of various groups of voters, young males, Hispanic voters, black voters, a swing in virtually every voting bloc went forward towards Trump away from what had been the Hillary Biden sort of consensus within the Democratic Party. It wasn't a close election. You lost. You lost massively. Unlike Hillary Clinton, who at least could bitch about the fact that she won the popular vote, which, by the way, under an electoral system means relatively less. That's sort of the point, to prevent the tyranny of the majority, so to speak, because we're supposed to hold together 50 contiguous states and several territories that don't always agree with one another. They are the sovereign states, actually. The United States is nothing more than a federalized moniker under which all of the other states have hoisted their collective banners. Most people don't understand. The United States is technically 50 different countries. It's an empire. Never mind. But she's drunk. She's clearly drunk here. She's making apologies for herself and trying to cheapen, Trump. But she's just basically latching on. She's hitching her horse to the same wagon that every liberal commentator and all the leftoids and so forth are. They're like, Trump is waging war against the United States, and they have all this footage of people rappelling out of helicopters and lurid tales of people being beaten in the streets, which by and large is not happening unless they get into a tangle with some Trenderoago or something like that, in which case, yeah, there's violence. Believe it or not, when left-wing rioters decide to start throwing shit at ICE agents and stuff, eventually they're going to respond. This happens all the time. It doesn't even matter who's doing the protesting slash rioting or what law enforcement service happens to be involved at the time. I mean, are you completely brain dead? Oh yeah, let me just walk up with this baseball bat and hit this soldier in the head. That'll go over real well, and they always act really surprised when they're detained, like when they've done something clearly illegal, and then they get detained, and usually they just get a slap on the wrist anyway. These people get so frightened because a lot of them, I guess they've never been inside of a jail cell. Try doing that in New Orleans. Spend a couple days down there with the good old boys. You'll have a great time. Until you see what's for lunch, then you will not have a good time. I think we should send Greta Thunberg down to Orleans Parish for a week or so. I think she'd very quickly knock off her stupid activities, by the way, if she's complaining about conditions in an Israeli prison. I think I'd probably rather be there, honestly. This is hysterical, watching Kamala get plastered. And she is plastered. She usually is, but here she looks a little bit more inebriated than normal. It's like instead of having 2 shots of whiskey for breakfast, she decided to switch to tequila today and then just downed the whole bottle. That's basically what she looks like. She can barely stand, actually. Joe Biden had that problem, but that's because he was old and infirm. With Kamala, by, at least political standards, she's relatively young. It's pretty sad when late 50s, early 60s is conceived of as being a spring chicken, but that seems to have been what we've devolved into, especially within Congress of all places. But she's just like fried out of her mind, blaming everyone but herself, as usual. I mean, she's done this on numerous occasions before, but this is probably the funniest one. Yeah, her infinite wisdom. Drunken Kamala staggers out onto the stage to ramble about how the dude who won the popular vote doesn't have any form of mandate. Well, let's see. Won the electoral vote, won the popular vote, won bigly with numerous voting blocks that never really leaned even close to Republican before, snatching away almost 40% of the fucking Hispanic vote, despite supposedly being vehemently racist against people of Mexican origin. You remember the Trump Tower Taco Bowl thing there? That was pretty funny. And people took that as a racist dog whistle. It's like he's eating Mexican food, dude. That's not an indicator of racism. Now, if he had like fried chicken and watermelon and grape drank out on the desk, and he's like, we're celebrating Black History Month the right way. Okay, then you can say that if it's not just completely tongue-in-cheek, it might have racial overtones. But eating a taco bowl, I've had them. I don't hate Mexican food. I like making Mexican food sometimes. But Kamala's so drunk, if she ate one of the Trump Tower taco bowls, she'd puke it all up over the stage. They'd look at the colors in it and say, "Oh, it kind of looks like a pride flag. Oh, she's celebrating Pride Month or something." They would still make excuses for her. Her political career, though, to be a little bit less glib, her political career is over. She's not going to be back into politics. She's definitely not going to be president of the United States. Lord help the fucking Democrats if they are nuts enough to actually allow her to run, and they might not be able to stop her. Gavin is like a shark in the water smelling blood right now. He's circling around waiting for his chance to strike. We all know this. He has presidential ambitions. I don't think that he can pull it off, thankfully. But with Kamala, she definitely can't pull it off. But if she runs and you don't have a dark horse candidate and or Gavin stands down, she might very well be the Democratic nominee the next time around. This would be utterly hilarious, by the way. It would be, I mean, can you imagine the debates between her and likely J.D. Vance? Can you imagine how funny that would be? We'll definitely be doing some more political live streams around that time if it happens. That's about all. Peace out.